So today we are here with a book haul. I have a few books that I bought brand new. Some were discounted, to be fair. I'm not meant to be buying too many books, but I feel like most of these were intentional, mostly. I'll get into that later. And then I also have some books that I found at the charity shop for very cheap, so I decided to pick them up. Just a small pile there, so I would have spent probably £5 on all of those. And then I have a bunch of library books because I do use my library a lot. You guys probably know this. I really like supporting my library and showing the council that it's in regular use so that they don't cut funding. Unfortunately, I have found that they are cutting funding from the library. They have to save a bunch of money, and cutting funding from the library is a way that they're doing that. So yeah, I have some things to say about that. I'm very unimpressed, but I'm hoping that as the but without trying to get all boring and political and stuff, I'm hoping that as the economy gets better eventually, if ever, they'll start pouring more money into the libraries again. So that was just a PSA to use your library system if you have one, because they may not always be around. Anyway, now that depressing start is out of the way, let me show you the books that I got recently. I think I'm going to start with what should I start with? My new releases first, or brand new purchases, not necessarily new releases. I have 6 of them because I've been very sensible, if I do say so myself. I'm trying to read all of these as well as soon as I buy them, or close to. So all of these should be read in the next 2 months. And I've actually already read one of them, so we'll start with that one. That is Onyx Storm. This one I pre-ordered, it came on the day of release. I've done a whole review of this. I won't tell you anything else about it or my feelings because I have posted a really long review video, and soon I will be posting a full recap as well. So don't need to talk about this one too much. It's the third, fourth wing book. You've probably heard of it. Another new release I have is Starlight Air. I showed this in my February TBR video, I think. I bought this because of the cover, but also I want to do a January new releases video. I want to do one every single month if I can, and this one caught my eye. It was going for very cheap. It's 300 or so pages, so a really good one to read when I'm trying to read a book a day in February. I've got a good feeling about it. It's romantasy. It doesn't have the highest ratings on Goodreads, but that doesn't always mean a lot. So this is about a woman who works in a forge, and she is invited to the court by the king because the nobles in the court are after her skills because she's a really good bladesmith. It says here that the crown prince's illegitimate brother captures her interest, and I don't know if that's in a good way or a bad, but I'm looking forward to finding out. I've just realised that most of these books on here are romantasy, so that's where my reading is going this year. I also picked up Lady of Darkness. I picked this up because I was going to read it with Becca in the Books' book club, but I didn't pick it up in time, partly because I was out of the country, so I can't really be blamed for that. So I've heard really good things about the series. This is the first in I think a quartet, and it was previously self-published, but it's now being traditionally published. And it's compared a lot to Throne of Glass. The main character is an assassin. I think that's the main reason. I don't know if there are fae in this series. I kind of hope not, because I'm so sick of fae. It says that the main character Scarlet is owned by a ruthless assassin lord. Her and her 2 sisters are the most feared trio on the continent. And then she seeks revenge against the fae fire prince. So I feel like maybe we'll have some like elemental powers or something in there, which will balance out my feelings towards the fae, because I do really like elemental powers in books. Continuing on with the romantasy theme, I also picked up The Traitor Queen. This one is the stunning new released US edition. Can't really see it very well because of my ring light. I'm sorry, I don't have any natural light right now. This is the second novel in the Bridge Kingdom series. I have the first one, and they look beautiful together in real life. You just have to trust me here. I haven't read The Bridge Kingdom yet, but I'm planning on reading it in February, so hopefully I will love it, and then I could potentially go straight into this one if I want to. And then while I was in Australia, I went to Dimmocks in Sydney, and they were having a 75% off sale, and I have previously been warned that books in Australia are really, really expensive, and that is true. These 2 books were supposed to be $33, so almost £17, which is wild for a paperback, but I bought 2 books for $10 each, so about £10 in total. So that is a fantastic deal. The first one I picked up was Ledge because I had previously sent the synopsis to one of my friends who I'm doing a lot of buddy reads with this year, and was like, as a joke, shall we read this? And she said yes, and I was just going to get the ebook, but then I found this in Dimmocks for $10, so I had to pick it up. So this the synopsis, the reason I was laughing at this is because this is set in like a snowy, icy world, I think, and the synopsis says that every season the people must present themselves as a sacrifice to the Glacians, mysterious and vicious winged creatures who reside beyond the ledge. And then it seems like the love interest is half Glacian. I'm just like, what on earth does that mean? I've got no idea, but I kind of want to read this soonish because it's obviously set in a cold climate, and although the UK will probably be freezing for many months to come, I think winter is probably the best time to read this. So I bought Ledge, and then I also bought Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This one isn't a romantasy as far as I'm aware, but I also don't really know what it's about, so can't really tell you. Let's see. It says that it's about two people meeting by chance. One main character is studying to be a doctor who is studying time travel, and the other main character is a bipolar counterfeit artist who is undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. I think it's partly about alternate timelines maybe, so I'm really interested in that. I didn't love The Atlas Six, and that's the only book by Olivia Blake that I have read, but I would like to give this one a go because this one sounds more like my kind of thing. And then also in Sydney, I just wanted to show you my bookmark that I got. It's a little emu, and I think it's adorable, so it's a little wooden one. So that's just staying safe in my book for now before I start using it. Those are all the ones that I bought brand new, and then we can get into the 5 that I bought from the charity shop. The first one is one that I have already read, so it's not being added to my TBR, so I'm very proud of that. And that is If You Find Me by Emily Murdoch. This is a dark YA contemporary book, and I remember loving it when I first read it, when it first came out. I don't think I ever had my own copy because I'm fairly sure I got it from NetGalley, and I didn't buy a physical copy even though I really enjoyed this. I remember also being really disappointed by the UK cover, which is very different to the US one, but actually I prefer this now, so I'm kind of glad I didn't go all out and buy the US cover. So this is about a teenage girl called Carrie who lives in the woods with her mother and her sister. Carrie's mother is unfortunately an addict, and she often disappears for days, weeks at a time. And this next time her mother disappears, strangers show up in the woods, and Carrie has to figure out what's going on, how to deal with that, how to deal with them, and how to protect her little sister. I would love to reread this one. I remember really enjoying it, but as I said, it is very dark. So between this and Pretty Girl 13, which I repurchased recently, or I bought over from my granddad's house, I'm gonna be in for a time. I also picked up Cassandra in Reverse. This is about a woman called Cassandra who's not having a very good time of it, and she finds out that she can reverse time. I don't know if that's like continuously or just every so often, and she uses that to her advantage. I really enjoy alternate universe time travel stuff, so put this on my February TBR as well. I also picked up a little book that I had never actually heard of. It's called A Disappearance in Fiji. I've not read many books set in Fiji. I think I've only ever read one, and so I wanted to add this one to my collection when I found it. So this is historical fiction. It's set in 1914, and it's about a soldier called Akau who was starting his career policing in Hong Kong, but then he is sent to Fiji. I'm not sure why. I don't know if there's some sort of like drama there. He basically doesn't want to be in Fiji because it's seen as, you know, a tiny far-flung colony. He wouldn't have the same career path if he goes there. He's sort of just being exiled. And then while he's on Fiji, an Indian woman goes missing and he has to look into the disappearance. So this is a bit of a murder mystery investigation sort of thing, I think. And as I said, I've not read any books set in, or I've only read one book set in Fiji, and I can't remember much about that, so this one should give me some good historical context, I hope. I picked up The Witches, Salem 1692, A History, which I believe is a non-fiction book, but it's so the blurb at the top from the Times compares it to J.K. Rowling and Stephen King. Why? I don't really understand. This has terrible ratings on Goodreads, but really good ratings on Amazon, so I'm hoping I will enjoy it, because I've been reading a lot of books about witches lately, and I've discovered that that's something that I really enjoy reading about. I thought I would get a non-fiction book that looks into the history of witches, but more specifically the Salem witch trials, because obviously the history of witches goes back centuries before the witch trials took place. So really looking forward to reading this one at some point. And then the last one that I got from a charity shop is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. No idea what this is about. It's YA, I think. Let me see. It says here that Emma's life changed forever on the eve of her high school graduation when the love of her life was accused of murdering her best friend. She was meant to run away with him and chase new dreams together, but now she is doing what her teenage self swore she never would, living a quiet existence among this tight-knit community steeped in folklore and tradition. Oh, so is it not YA? Because it's talking about the guy who was accused of murder turning up 14 years later, so maybe it's not YA, I've got that wrong. I've never read anything by Adrienne Young before, but her books do intrigue me, and I think I have her debut, A Sky in the Deep, and I haven't read that yet, but I would like to. So if this goes well, I might pick that up and give it a go, because I'm definitely more intrigued by this right now. Okay, so those are all the books that I bought, and there aren't too many of them. That's a lie, there are quite a few when I'm not meant to be buying books, but I didn't spend loads on them, and I'm making good progress already with reading them and putting them into my TBRs, so I'm feeling quite good about that. So next I have a bunch of library books. Let's go through the graphic novels that I picked up first. The first one is On a Sunbeam. This one is sci-fi. From what I can tell, it's like a found family sort of situation. The main character is an adult and her job is to restore ancient buildings along with her friends slash colleagues. And then it also flashes back to when she was in high school and her experiences there. It says here that in the deepest reaches of space, Mia joins the crew of Actis, working to rebuild and restore beautiful broken down structures. As she integrates into the group, we flash back to her time as a rebellious schoolgirl and the events from which she can't move on, leading her on an epic quest that connects the past, present and future of her and the crew. I think this one sounds lovely. It's got really good reviews, so I can't wait to read this. I'm going to be reading it this month. I also picked up Persepolis. This is set in Iran, starting off in the 80s, 1980 to be precise, which is when the Islamic Revolution happened. It happened in 1979, I believe. But this is set a year later after some laws have been implemented. Specifically, young girls and women have been told that they need to wear a veil, and the schools have been segregated into boys' schools and girls' schools. So it starts there. I'm not sure how far through history this goes. I don't know if it goes up to present day. It was written in 2002, I think. It looks like it was published around 2003, 2004. So obviously it won't go up to present day, but it will go towards more modern times, so cover maybe like 20 years. So I'm very interested in reading this. It's another one that I'm reading in February. And then there are two graphic novels that I've actually already read this month. The first being Garlic and the Vampire, and the second being Garlic and the Witch. So this is a duology of graphic novels about a main character called Garlic, who grows up in a witch's garden with her vegetable friends who are also sentient. Garlic is a very anxious bulb. One day the vegetables notice that a castle in the woods has smoke coming out of it, as in someone is clearly now inhabiting it, and the rumours say that it's a vampire. So Garlic is kind of thrown in there and told that they have to go to this castle and get rid of the vampire because the vampire is dangerous. So Garlic goes over there, and it's not quite what she expected. The second one is Garlic and the Witch, as I said, and this is about Garlic going on a sort of adventure to find some ingredients to help her friends. I thought these were really cute. I'll talk more about them in my monthly wrap up at the end of the month. I'd recommend them if you like middle grade graphic novels. Another one that I've added to my TBR and I'm reading right now is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is the first book in a trilogy. The third one is coming out in February as well. And I'm trying to read and recap the first two books in time, but I don't think I'm going to quite get there. But I'm going to try my best. This is about Emily Wilde, who is travelling to an island off the coast of Norway to investigate and document, look into the fairies who live there. On this island in Norway, apparently there are different kinds of fairies. There are some like really chill fairies, and then the fairy court, which seems a bit more ominous. And then it's meant to be sort of a cozy romantic fantasy, I think, from what I can tell. I am a bit hesitant about reading it because I didn't love a similar sounding book, A Natural History of Dragons. I thought that was really boring, but I do have high hopes for this one. I've also picked out two romance books, the first one being Flawless by Elsie Silver. This one was just on the shelf, so I grabbed it because I do enjoy a good romance book sometimes, and I've heard really good things about this one. I don't love the blurb on the back because it's told entirely from the guy's point of view, and he's going on about being like the golden boy and a babysitter, and then the first line is someone swearing at him and it's all italicized, so I don't love that, so I'm a bit hesitant for this. If you have read this and liked it, please tell me in the comments because I need some hype to convince me to read it. I'm thinking about reading this as part of a romance reading vlog. Another one that I picked up for that vlog, or just in general, is Best Text Ever. This is about a witch and it's a fun, cozy romance story. It says it's for fans of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which I definitely am. I gave that book 5 stars. Not expecting this to be as good because I don't know what book could be, but maybe it will be just as fantastic as that. I don't really know the story for this one. I don't really need to know. I also picked up Feybound. I am trying to read this one again before the sequel comes out in February, but I might not get there because I'm reading 28 books in 28 days in February, and this one is a bit of a chunkier one. So this one is about two sisters who live in the Elven realm, I think, and then they get chucked into the Fey realm for various reasons. I think they're like exiled for, I don't know, getting into trouble. One of the sisters is also a prophet, and then I think they have to navigate the fairy court maybe together or maybe separately. So I haven't read anything by this author before, but I've heard very good things about her stuff, particularly the Final Strife series. Not so much this one, but I would like to try to read this very soon so that I can get a recap up. I picked up Daughter of Chaos, which is a new release. It's a debut. This is based on Greek mythology, and it's about a main character who I believe has to go into some sort of like games or challenge arena. It says here that she also befriends the mighty demigod Heracles. So yeah, I don't know, I'm intrigued. I just picked this up because it was on the shelf and I wasn't expecting to see it because it hadn't actually officially released yet, but it was in the library just waiting. So I thought I would pick it up. I also picked up A Burning. This one is set in Kolkata. The main character is a girl who is walking through the streets, through the slums, and she receives a notification on her phone because everyone is talking about a train attack that has happened in the city. And then it goes on to follow 3 women who are somehow connected to this train attack, who are all living in the same city, and they're all somehow connected to each other. The reason I wanted to pick this one up is because, first of all, I tend to enjoy books set in India, and I really enjoy the interconnecting stories of characters like this, but also Yagyazi blurbed this one and she's one of my favourite authors, and Homegoing is one of my all-time favourite books, so I thought I'd pick this one up. Again, it's short, so I might pick it up this month, but if not, I'll aim for March. I also picked up River East, River West. This one is set in Shanghai. I think it's set in 2 timelines, and it initially follows a guy, and then 20 years later it follows his stepdaughter, and I think they clash. I'm not really sure why or how, but it was nominated for the Women's Prize last year, and this was one of the ones that I was most keen on reading, but I didn't get to it, so when I saw this chilling at the library I thought I'll pick it up and see how it goes. Another one I've picked up is The Water Outlaws. This is a fantasy book. It's a retelling of a classic Chinese novel called Water Margin. It's about a group of bandits rising up and fighting off the tyrannical government. This is about a main character who gets looped into that group of outlaws, and apparently there's a lot of like fighting in here. There are themes of like fighting the patriarchy. There are also some darker themes apparently, because I looked at the trigger warnings and it mentions cannibalism, so I'm quite intrigued by that. It's not necessarily a trigger of mine, but yeah, I'm very intrigued to read this one. I won't be reading it in February because it's such a long book, or it feels quite long. It's nearly 500 pages. But I would like to pick it up soon. Again, this is another one that I found chilling at the library, so I just picked it up, nabbed it while I could. And then finally, the last book of this haul, and the last one that I picked up from the library, is Forsheer's Wrath. This one is a fantasy book as well, and it says here it's about a woman called Dania who has been betrayed by her lover and falsely imprisoned for a crime that she didn't commit. She's counting down the days until she can exact her revenge when a fellow prisoner offers a chance to escape and the keys to a dangerous jinn magic. So I picked this one up because I had heard of it before, and I really enjoy reading about jinn and their magic. This was all started by S.A. Chakraborty and also Alwyn Hamilton with Rebel of the Sands. Both very good series. So the main character somehow gains jinn powers. She probably makes a deal or something, I assume, and she plans to get revenge on the people who imprisoned her and brought down her family. So all of this sounds very intriguing to me. I don't actually know if it's gotten very good reviews. I don't think many people are talking about it, but I would like to give this a go, and I think I would really enjoy it. So again, I'm probably not going to read this in February because I am trying to read shorter books, and this one is almost 400 pages, so a little bit too long to read in a day for me, unless I get super invested. So maybe I'll read a first chapter of a few of these and see just how fast paced I feel like the books are going to be, but this is probably going to be one that I save for March as well. Okay, so that's my book haul for the last month or so. It seems like a lot of books, but most of these are library books, and then a few I got in the charity shop, so I didn't go too wild. And as I said at the beginning and in the middle, I think I have included a lot of these in my next couple of TBRs, so I definitely have active plans to read them rather than just leaving them sat on my shelf, because that's something that I'm intentionally trying to do this year, so that I don't leave books sat on my shelf for years, gathering dust and losing interest in them. So let me know if you've bought any books recently, or if you have taken any out from the library, tell me which ones. If you have read any of these and you think I would like them, let me know. Or equally, if you haven't read any of these but you'd like me to read them and tell you what I think of them, tell me that in the comments as well, and I can try my best to do that. As I said, I'm planning a couple of reading vlogs, specifically a romance reading vlog and a new releases reading vlog. So the new releases reading vlog is something that I'm going to try to do every single month, but it may not be sort of like on the dot. I'm going to try to do 12 over the course of 2025, and we will see how that goes. If you've not got anything to say, leave a flower emoji. It's up to you which one you pick. And thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you all in the next video. Bye.